something that historians use to try and discover whether or not a writer is telling the truth. It's called the principle of embarrassment, and it goes like this. If there's something embarrassing to the author or authors, it's probably true. Why? Why is it probably true? Yeah, they wouldn't make up details that make themselves look bad. They wouldn't lie to make themselves look bad. Oh, people lie all day to make themselves look good. People lie all day to get themselves out of trouble. Nobody lies to make themselves look bad or to get into trouble. Well, it turns out the New Testament writings, and even the Old Testament writings, are filled with embarrassing details, but let's just look at the New Testament. The New Testament writings are filled with embarrassing details. In fact, this is the duh test. Why would they put this material in a story that wasn't true? They wouldn't do this. First of all, notice the New Testament writers depict themselves as dim-witted. They depict themselves as dim-witted. They fail to understand what Jesus is saying several times. We didn't know what he was talking about. We didn't know what he was saying. We didn't know what he was doing. Also, they are uncaring. They fall asleep on Jesus not once, but twice. When he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, "This is my greatest hour of need. Stay up with me and pray." "We'll do it, Lord, don't worry." What do they wind up doing? Not once, but twice. They make no effort to give Jesus a proper burial. Who buries Jesus? Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus. Now, who is Joseph of Arimathea? He was a member of the Sanhedrin. What did the Sanhedrin do? That was the Jewish ruling council that sentenced Jesus to die. Now, why would the writers make Joseph look like a good guy while they ran away and hid for fear of the Jews? And why would they put Jesus in a Jewish tomb? What could the Jews have done if Jesus was in their tomb and the Christians claimed he had risen from the dead and he hadn't risen from the dead? What could the Jews have done? They could have gone to their own tomb and said, "Risen from the dead? That's nonsense. He's in our tomb. What are you talking about? He's dead. Stop all this nonsense talk about the resurrection." If they had said he was in their tomb and he really wasn't, what would the Jews have said? They would have said, "Your whole story's false. He's never been in our tomb. You're making stuff up." That's not what they said at all. What did they say? They said that the disciples came and stole the body while the guards were asleep. Now, that's a bad explanation for at least two reasons. Reason number one, if you're a Roman guard on duty and you fall asleep on watch, what happens to you? You're dead. You're toast. Reason number two, if you're a Roman guard on duty and you fall asleep on watch, how do you know what happened? What happened? We were asleep, and the disciples came and stole the body. You were asleep. Yeah, that's right. Well, then how do you know what happened if you were asleep? Stop asking questions and just give us the bribe. That doesn't make any sense. And by the way, we know that the Jewish explanation for the empty tomb, right through the first 2 centuries of the church, or century and a half of the church, was the disciples came and stole the body. Why? Because there's an argument going on in early Christianity about it. Christians saying he rose from the dead, Jews saying, no, disciples came and stole the body. Why would they do this? Why would the Jews say the disciples came and stole the body? What does that imply? It implies that the tomb was empty. You don't have to come up with an empty tomb story if he's still in there. It's their own tomb, and they're admitting it's empty. Also, they are rebuked. Peter is called Satan by Jesus. Do you think they made this up? You think Mark just said one day, "Hey, Pete, I'm going to have the Lord call you Satan"? What do you think Peter would have said? "I'm the leader. Why is he calling me Satan? Have him call you Satan." They're not making this up. The leader of the early church is called Satan by the Lord. This is not a made-up detail. Also, Paul rebukes Peter for being wrong about a theological issue. In Galatians chapter 2, he says, "I told Peter to his face that he was wrong for trying to get the New Testament believers to obey the Old Testament law." If they're making this whole thing up, they shouldn't be arguing over these kinds of doctrines. They just make up, say whatever they want. Also, they are cowards. Peter denies Christ 3 times. This is a very bad period for Peter. First, he's called Satan by Jesus. Then he denies Christ 3 times, and later on he's rebuked by Paul. This is not made up. And then the disciples run away. This is like a Monty Python movie. Run away. Oh, they all run away. And who are the brave ones? Who are the brave ones? Ladies? Yes, the women are the brave ones. Now, who wrote this down? Men. Now, what man is going to make up that he was hiding for fear of the Jews while the women went down to discover the empty tomb? Would any man in here make that up? No way. I mean, if I was making it up, I'd write something down like this. Let's see. We marched right down there and overpowered that elite Roman guard. Yeah, that sounds good. And then we saw Jesus, who congratulated us on our great faith. And then we went and comforted the trembling women. Right? We certainly wouldn't say that we were Mr. Sissy Pants for hiding for fear of the Jews while the women went down to discover the empty tomb. Who would have made that up?